How's it going, everybody? So, sorry I didn't get any more Argento up yesterday. I'm doing a level 1 run of Elden Ring, so I was playing that pretty much all fucking yesterday afternoon and evening. So, next weekend, this coming weekend, we'll have more of that. But time to jump into, like, the series that got me into horror in the first place. When I was 5 or 6 years old, Halloween was the first horror movie that I ever saw, and it was like, during Halloween when they play the whole series like on all the different channels, USA and Sci-Fi, and same with Friday the 13th. So after I saw Halloween, and I was already a big Halloween the holiday fan, so every time that Friday the 13th came around, like the day, and they would play this whole series, then Halloween time they'd play this whole series. When I first saw it, every time after that, every year, I would watch this whole series whenever they showed it on TV. So this is diving into some heavy nostalgia for me. So let's jump into it. 1980s Friday the 13th, directed by Sean S. Cunningham, which pretty sure he used to like shoot porn before he got into this. And this whole movie is a cash grab. Like, it was absolutely just for money back then. And like, Cunningham has straight up said it in the past. Like, after the success of Halloween, they acquired the rights for just the name Friday the 13th. They didn't even have a script. They were just like, all right, Friday the 13th, has any movie been called that? No? All right, let's grab it right away. And then they ended up writing a script after that. But I mean, this is the movie that kicked off the whole slasher craze of the 80s. Especially like the holiday slasher movies. Like, after this, like, you had April Fool's Day, Graduation Day, Silent Night, Deadly Night, New Year's Evil, Christmas Evil, so many, My Bloody Valentine, like, all of those holiday themed movies owe it to Friday the 13th. Like, absolutely. So let's get into the movie. So we have 1958 with the two counselors being killed at the beginning, and I never got, like, Jason drowned in 57, and then 58 is when Miss Voorhees killed these two counselors. So, like, why didn't she kill more? Like, she just killed two of them, and then she was like, fuck it, I'm pooped, man. I'm gonna wait another 20 plus years, then I'll get my real revenge. Like, I never understood why she just killed two of them in the beginning. But, I don't know, she's fucking patient, man, when it comes to revenge for her son. And I love the little title card when just the words Friday the 13th come, and it comes crashing through the glass, imaginary glass on the screen. Really cool stuff. And then the whole thing with Camp Blood, and that it has a death curse, kind of far-fetched. Like, it was just two murders, like 20-something years ago, and an accident drowning the year before that. Doesn't really constitute a death curse. Like, and then they say like a bunch of fires. So we have just two murders, an accidental drowning, and like a Smokey the Bear problem. Like, this is all 20-something years ago. So the whole death curse thing really doesn't deserve the name Death Curse. It doesn't deserve the name Camp Blood. I mean, after like the next three movies that take place over a few days, sure, then call it, a death curse and Camp Blood. Then it makes sense. This doesn't really make sense at all. Like, it's just two murders. And like I said, like a Smokey the Bear issue with the fucking fires. Like, not really constitutes the names that they give this place. And Annie is so cute, man. It's such a shame that they kill her off so quick. But she's a good detective. She's in the car with the guy, and he's saying quit and stuff. And there's something you're not telling me. You think so? Like, she was very smart to deduce that. And these kids, these teenagers, they're supposed to be playing, right? They're listening to heavy banjo bluegrass music while they're driving to this camp. Yeah, no, they're not. What they're listening to is the sound of no money in order to get real music for this movie. Like, and they had to put just this banjo stock music in. That's what they're listening to. They're not listening to fucking banjo music. In the 80s, teenagers, Yeah, no. And it feels so good after doing so much Argento and talking about just masterful filmmaking to be able to now go back and finally be able to do my thing and tear apart and make fun of movies I adore. It feels like going back home. And is Alice fucking Steve Christie, or is he just a creep? I never got that because when he's helping her and she's like, and she doesn't know how to use a hammer. She's like going like this to hammer in like the wood and stuff on the cabin. And he's looking through her drawings and everything. And he says, oh, does this look like me? This is supposed to be me. And she's like, it's how you looked last night. So like, and then like he caresses her hair and stuff. Like, so are they fucking, or is he just a fucking creep when he like caresses her hair? Because she gives like this look, but she doesn't give like a weird look, like she's disgusted at him. So I don't know. I never understood any of that. I love the foreshadowing of Brenda's death, that she's putting up the archery target, and then later on, that's what would have happened if we actually saw something. But I like that foreshadowing. And Ned, who the fuck does that? That he fucking shoots the arrow at the target with Brenda like a foot or two away. Who the fuck does that? No one does that. Like, this guy is so heavy into his Indian role-playing, I guess, that he's just so confident in his arrow shooting abilities that he knows he's not gonna, like, not shoot, like, a little far to the left and impale this fucking girl with an arrow. That's so fucking crazy, man. Like, he deserves to die just for that. Like, just for being a complete dickhead. And then why didn't Miss Voorhees just stab Annie as soon as she got in the car? Or like a minute or two afterwards. Like, that's her whole thing, is she's taking revenge on all these kids, these counselors. You'd think it's a little bit easier to just stab her in the neck or something when she's talking about goats and shit, instead of chasing her through the woods. Like, it's a lot more work for an older woman to do. Like, she could have just stabbed her right then and there. And Annie's neck, like when she gets her throat slit, this always bothered me. And this is great Tom Savini doing the effects in this movie, which for the most part look great. But like, there's something about that throat slit, because like her neck is like a different color than the rest of her face and stuff. So it always bothered me because it looks really fake. Like, it doesn't look that good at all. And for Savini, like, yeah, you can argue it's the first kill of the movie, and this was early in his career, like after Dawn of the Dead, but I don't know. That kill always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It takes 5 people and all that rigmarole to kill a snake in the cabin. Like, the guy had a machete. Like, he could have just, like he does, he stabs the thing and cuts it in half or whatever. But there's like 5 of them in there. Then Kevin Bacon's character, I forget, isn't Jack, I think, just jumps on the bed and like the mattress falls through. Then the snake fucking goes away. I love how they say like, I don't know where it is, call it. How do you call a snake? Like, there's some great lines in this movie, and a lot of it, like I said, is nostalgia. Like, this movie, compared to the rest of the series, especially as I got older, is nowhere near as good as I remember it, like, growing up. Like, yeah, it's iconic, and it's the movie that kickstarted this whole series, and just so influential on slasher movies from this film onwards through the 80s. But it's just not that, it's boring. Like, a lot of this movie is slow. Like, it really is. So it doesn't rank too highly on my favorite movies in this series. But you can't deny how influential this movie was. And God, Marcy is so hot. Like, she is so sexy in this movie. Like, I'll probably pick out, doing this whole series, my favorite girl in the movie and my favorite kill. And Marcy, for sure, is the hottest girl in this movie. And Ralph rode his bike 20 fucking miles. Because they say at the beginning, when Annie's hitching the ride, that it's like 20 miles to get to Camp Crystal Lake from the town. He rode his bike 20 miles just to hide in the pantry. and come out and say, you're doomed, you're all doomed. Then gets back on his bike and what? Rides another 20 miles back to town? Like, why? Like, I mean, yeah, he's crazy, but like, and he's a drunk, but like, have you seen him? Like, he does not look in physical shape to like ride a 40-mile round trip to and from this camp just to hide in the pantry and tell them the same shit that he told Annie when he was in town. He could have just said, hey, relay this message to the rest of them. Because I'm not riding my bike 20 miles out to Camp Crystal Lake, or Camp Blood as he loves to call it. Like, that's funny, man. And then Marcy's whole dream of being at a Slayer concert and raining blood everywhere. And if this was, like, nothing will kill a boner for a guy. Fucking, he's still Kevin Bacon's character. Like, well, fuck the hell out of Marcy after hearing this dream. If his character was saying this dream to Marcy, there would be no sex. Like, none of that would happen. This girl would be fucking creeped the hell out from Kevin Bacon. Like, no fucking way is she getting in bed with him after hearing this whole dream about blood raining down and dripping out into little puddles and shit like that. There's no way that she would be sleeping with this guy after that. And they don't see Ned's body on the top bunk. Really? Like, when we see Ned's body with his throat cut and everything, like, there is, like, a duffel bag, like, on that side, like, blocking, like, the view of his, like, head and stuff. But you could still see the rest of his body. And it's not like it's a high up bunk. Like, they're both standing, like, straight up. And it's, like, right in view, like, the top of the bunk. They don't notice that. I mean, sure, you got Marcy, like, in her panties. So, like, that's distracting to any guy who's in that situation. But, like, she doesn't see it. Like, no one sees this body up there. No, I guess not. Like, I mean, hey, movie's got a movie. But why does no one ever land on Baltic Avenue? Like Bill says when they're playing Monopoly. And she says something about Baltic Avenue. He's like, no one ever lands on Baltic Avenue. Why? Like, what type of weird line is that? Like, any fucking property in Monopoly, it's just a roll of the dice. It's just luck. So, like, why does no one land on Baltic Avenue? I don't know. That's just, like I said, it's so fun to be able to go back and start making fun of all these fucking movies. I love it. Makes no sense, though. And then Jack, it is Jack, Kevin Bacon. His kill is awesome. Like, my favorite kill in this movie. But there's no fucking way Pamela Voorhees pulled any of that shit off. Like, with her under the fucking bed, and she gets a spear to go upright through a mattress while holding his head through his neck. Get the fuck out of here. It looks so good, though. And, like, I remember Savini saying that, like, there was a malfunction with, like, the effect that they were using, and he had to end up, like, blowing into the tube, and that's why, like, the fake blood comes, like, spraying and squirting out, which, nice little happy accident. Like, it looks really, really good, even to this day. And then we have Marcy going to the bathroom, and she gets the axe in the face, which I love that kill, too. Like, something about how it looks, like, when we see the axe sticking in her face. And Savini has said, like, how he does his effects, like, magic tricks, like, on the camera. And he said that he'll use, like, a real axe for the shot of it hitting the light. So that way you can, like, feel through the screen, like, the weight of the axe, that it's a real axe. And then that way when you see the axe sticking in Marcy's face, which is a fake axe, it's stuck in your mind that, you know, that this is a real axe, that, like, really sells it. And it does. Like, it looks very, very good. But, like, she doesn't run. She doesn't, like, nothing. Like, so many people in this series and so many other slasher movies. Like, she just, like, turns around, sees the axe, and she just screams. She just, like, stands there screaming, looking at this axe about to hit her in the face. Like, you can't, like, Dark Soul roll out of the way or, like, something like that. Like, ninja roll and then run out the bathroom. She just sits there, and, and just gets it in the face, man. Oh, you gotta love these movies. And then, like, Steve Christy takes, like, an 8-hour lunch break. Like, this guy leaves when it's broad daylight out. And says he'll be back in a little bit. Then we see him near the end of the movie with the pouring rain and the thunderstorm, and it is completely nighttime out, and he's still finishing up his lunch, like, or his dinner, or whatever you want to call it. This guy takes so long and so many breaks that no wonder why it's taking so long to redo this camp. This guy is not doing the amount of work that he should be doing to get this camp reopened in time, like, at all. Like, the guy at the beginning that drives Annie saying that he's gonna go broke, smartest guy in the movie. Like, he is absolutely going broke. Then we have Brenda's missing death, which I never understood why. It just cuts away, like she's on the archery range, and we know she gets shot with an arrow, which is, like I said, was nice foreshadowing at the beginning, but then it just cuts away, and we just hear her scream. So I don't know if that was just like a gag gone wrong, like they had an effect or something, and it didn't work. I said in my video for Sleepaway Camp, like when Mel gets the arrow through the throat, that's the kill we should have gotten for this movie. Like, something. We see something. But, like, it just cuts away and she screams. And it is what it is. I mean, as this movie, when it was made, obviously they had no plans on a sequel or anything. So they didn't know how big this franchise was going to get. Like, especially with Jason becoming the killer from the next movie onwards. Then it, like, really focused on, like, the gruesome death scenes and everything, and just upping the body count in every movie. So I mean, it is what it is. But then they see Alice and Bill see the bloody axe in the bed, and she's like, "What's going on?" It's like, well, there's like two options: either your friends are sadists and they're playing a fucking prank, or there's a fucking murderer around. Time to go. Like, just to be on the safe side, I'd choose option B and get the hell out of there. But, again, movie. Crazy Ralph is fucking married. We hear this from the cop talking to Steve Christie. He's married. I would love to see that. Like, I would love to see, like, a sitcom based on Ralph and his wife. Like, Life with Ralph. Then you just... you see him come home at the beginning of like the episodes, like he rides his bike home and he's drunk and he comes through the door and the wife's like, "Ralph, where have you been? Like, did you pay the electric bill?" Like, "I am the messenger from God." And "Ralph, seriously, if we don't pay the electric bill, we're not going to have any electricity. Like, what are we going to do? We're doomed. We're all doomed." And then she could have like a catchphrase and be like, "Oh, Ralph," and then like the laugh track kicks in, like... Dude, that would be so great. Like, who would watch that? Like, I absolutely would. Then we see Steve Christie get killed, and he's like, "Oh, hi, what are you doing out here?" And then he just gets stabbed in the stomach, I guess. Like, again, like, not a lot of on-screen deaths in this movie. And then we get to watch Alice make coffee for like 2 minutes in real time, which is exciting and thrilling as it sounds. Then we see Bill pinned to the door with the arrows, which, yeah, there's no way any of that works. I mean, it's a callback to Halloween, I'm guessing, when Bill, right? Or Bob? I can't believe I can't think of his fucking name. When he gets stabbed by Michael and he's with the kitchen knife and he's, like, impaled on the wall, like, off his feet. But I mean, in that movie, it works because it's just such a stylish shot. Like, it just looks so awesome. This is just, like, ridiculous. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous in Halloween, too, that, like, a fucking kitchen knife is going to pin this person with his weight and stuff hanging from the wall. But, like, just a bunch of arrows sticking in him, like in this, like, it's so ridiculous, man. Then Brenda's body gets thrown through the window, which, she's a strong motherfucker, Mrs. Voorhees. Like, every time I see that, I just picture, I just picture Betsy Palmer just lifting a fucking body over her head and chucking it through the window. Like, she got fucking super strength, or she's the Hulk. Like, absolutely hilarious. Then Betsy Palmer's performance at the end of this movie. I can't say it's great or even that good, but it's absolutely iconic. Like, she didn't want to take this movie at all. Like, she read the script for this and she's like, "This is absolute garbage. Like, this is absolutely terrible." And the only reason she took it is the role in this is because she said nobody's gonna see this. And damn, man, I mean, this is the movie that she is best known for. Like, this is the movie that defined her career. That anyone who looks back on Betsy Palmer, the late great Betsy Palmer, Friday the 13th. Like, and she was an accomplished actress. And like, for her to take this role, just thinking that nobody's gonna see this movie and that it's just trash. And like, I remember her saying in an interview that like Savini came up with the picture of like the design work on young Jason and said like, this is your son. And she's like, the hell's wrong with him? He's like, oh, he's a mongoloid. She's like, a mongoloid? Like, just, I've seen so many like behind the scenes things, and like anyone who hasn't seen like Crystal Lake Memories, it's like a 5-hour documentary on the whole series, like the making of each movie and interviews with the casts and directors and like all of that. Such a great watch. Like, it's such an interesting documentary to see how all these movies were made and the history behind the whole series, and awesome stuff. I think it's on Shudder. Like, I'm pretty sure it's still on Shudder. I know it was a few years ago, but I'm pretty sure that it's still on there. Like, it might even be a Shudder exclusive, and that's why it's still on there. I'm not sure, but it's a great watch. But her performance is just creepy, man. Like I said, like, I can't say that it's great, but it's definitely creepy. Like, she does a great job of portraying a psychotic fucking mother. Like, for sure. Like, she does a great job with that. But she's been running around in the pouring rain, killing everybody this whole time in the fucking thunderstorm. And when she comes out and we see her for the first time, her hair is completely perfect and dry, and all of her clothes is dry, and like, she's not soaking wet or anything like that. Like, again, just nitpick. But just some of her lines are just absolutely iconic. Like, his name was Jason. Like, just that alone, like that line right there is so good. And then Jason was my son, and today is his birthday. Like, awesome stuff. Like, I don't know how much nostalgia plays into it, but every time I hear those two lines, it's like you get chills a little bit. Like, just thinking of where this series went after this. But like, this shit can actually happen. And I think that's what separates this movie from Halloween. Because like, Michael Myers is like a fucking superhuman in that. And separates it from Nightmare on Elm Street. With that whole fantastical shit with Freddy killing in his people's nightmares and stuff. This is just a tale of a mother's revenge. Like, this shit could actually happen. And it happens all the time. Like, somebody loses their kid in a tragic way, and they snap, and they go on a killing spree to try to avenge their kid. So just the fact that this is grounded in reality more than any other entry in this franchise, I don't know, something about that just elevates the film a little bit for me. And has Mrs. Voorhees been like driving around with Annie's corpse right next to her in the passenger seat? Because we see Alice go to get into the car and we see Annie's body there. So like, when she first drove up, Mrs. Voorhees, like, she was just chilling with Annie's corpse, it seems like, in the passenger seat. Which, I mean, she's psychotic, so I mean, it makes sense, but that's fucking hilarious. And she's probably talking to her too, and like, oh, wait till we get to the camp, and I gotta kill all your friends for my little Jason. And then Alice is running, and Steve's body just like is hanging upside down and falls down. Miss Voorhees has amazing dramatic timing. Like, to reveal all these bodies. I mean, just like Michael Myers and all that, but like, she's got great dramatic timing. Like, just knows exactly when Alice is going to be in a certain spot, so the bodies appear and scare the living shit out of her. Great at doing that. And I guess Jason inherited that trait from her, because he's fucking phenomenal with that too. Like, just making the bodies appear right when they need to. And her whole get her mommy, kill her, and so creepy. Like, it's so well done. I love those lines. And Harry Manfredini's score in this movie and in much of the franchise is very good. Like, it's very well known. Yeah, it's like very psycho-esque, but it fits the film a lot, like very well, and the rest of the franchise. Like he's done the score for the majority of the franchise, at least like 1 through 8. And like when I was growing up watching these, like those were the films. Like it was 1 through 8 that were out and that I would see all the time. I forget, when did Jason Goes to Hell come out? Like 91, something like that. I'm not sure if it was out. Yeah, it was out when, but it was never on TV. Like they never showed that fucking movie, and for good reason. Like it's not a good movie at all. But we'll get to that one eventually. Um, Alice is a great final girl, and like this movie again, like introduced a lot of tropes that we see in all the 80s slashers after this. And yeah, there were final girls before this, but like this is like again like the movie that really introduced that whole trope of having a final girl, and she really puts up a fight against Mrs. Voorhees. Like she does a really good job, and I don't know why she, like with so many of these movies, when she's down on the ground, she just doesn't start hacking the shit out of this woman, like and making sure she's dead. But happens in all these slasher movies, so you can't really complain. And then we get the decapitation, which looks awesome, but the only thing that takes me out of it is the hands, which is Savini's hands. So it just looks, it looks so weird. Like the decapitation part looks awesome, and then like the blood squirting out of the neck stump and everything. But like when she has her hands up like this, like they look like man hands, and they are. But like when, even if you didn't know that, it still looks weird. So I don't know, that takes away from it a little bit. And then we have the dream sequence, which happens for like the next 4 movies. And we get the shot of the canoe and the trees reflecting off the lake. Awesome shots. Like something about like shots in movies where like on a lake or something like that, where you see the reflection of a building or trees, whatever, you see it, and then you see the reflection in the water. I love shots like that. So like very beautiful stuff. Then we see young Jason, come out of the water and take Alice underneath the water, and he looks awesome. Like with the fucking like seaweed and all this shit all over him, and just his disfigured, deformed face. Really cool. And then the cops pulled her out of the lake, they say, in the hospital. They say that when we pulled you out of the lake, we thought you were dead too. So, how'd she get in the lake? Like, that was a dream sequence with Jason pulling her under the water. She really did go in the water then. So did she just, like, wake up and then just, like, lean back and fall into the water? Or was that not a dream? And did Jason really come out and drag her under the water? Like, that whole line of them saying, like, we pulled you out of the water makes no sense. Because it was either a dream sequence, which it obviously is, or she really fell into the water somehow, which doesn't make any sense. Oh, that doesn't make sense at all. Then just saying, like, the whole little last line of her saying, like, of the cop saying, we didn't find any boy, and her saying, well, then he's still there. And every time I see this movie, the way that she moves her head, I feel like she's about to break the fourth wall. Like, every single time. Like, but he's still there. Like, it looks like she's gonna do that, but like she turns her head to the side. But every time I think that she's about to break the fourth wall, and I laugh hysterically just thinking of that because it's so funny. But that's Friday the 13th. There's like I said, so much nostalgia for me with this movie and the rest of the series. But there are movies in this franchise that I absolutely still adore to this day. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this movie, but it's just nowhere near a lot of the others in this franchise. Like especially 2, 3, 4, the final chapter is not even just my favorite in the franchise. It's, in my opinion, the greatest slasher film ever made. Like it's my favorite slasher film of all time. But we'll get to 4 and 3 and 2 and all the rest of this awesome, crazy franchise that makes no sense at all as we go on. So I'll have Friday 2 up in a little bit. I'm about to rewatch it now. But alright guys, I will see you soon. Have a good night, morning, wherever you're from, and I will talk to you soon.